The truth is, nobody really knows how AI is going to change the world, it's going to change our industries. But there's one thing we know for sure. Holding on to single family rental properties will always be a valuable asset. And quite frankly, I'm kind of shocked how few property managers actually own single family homes in their portfolio. But I think that's because my kind of like point of view and my upbringing in this industry comes from my experience with JWB, who's a turnkey rental property investing company. But that's why talking to Tracy Streich about the way that he has essentially acquired a whole portfolio of rental properties while running a property management business that isn't based around the turnkey model is something that you need to listen to. Tracy has figured out a way to build acquiring properties into his workflow as his property management company, and it's proven to be a long-term strategic advantage. So pay attention to this conversation. Most people are out there trying to build a property management company to like sell it, when I really think it might be easier and more valuable and actually make you more wealthy and more in control of your time and finances to build a portfolio using your property management company. Check out this conversation with Tracy Streich. Let me know what you think. Welcome to the Property Management Frame Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go. I feel like if I ask people how you got started, they're going to tell me their whole life. Like, to me, it's just like the building a rental property portfolio, kind of like, how did that become real enough for you to then become a property manager, if that's how you got going?
So I bought my first rental in 1999. I had no money, no experience, no idea what I was doing. A buddy of mine, we had flipped a house and we thought we should get some rentals. And we had this grand plan. If we got 5 rentals a year for the next 10 years, we'd have 50 rentals. And kind of the same story I get from a lot of our investors when they call and say, hey, do you give discounts? How many do you have? Well, I only have one now, but I'm going to buy 10, 20, 30. It's a hard road. You kind of get derailed. You find out it's a lot of work managing your own rentals, doing your own thing, collecting rent. So that's kind of how I got started. Steve and I had about 14 rentals, and we both had other jobs. We had other careers. That was kind of our side gig. Mm-hmm. And I still remember collecting rent. This is the one that made me say, I'm not doing this anymore. I was in front of a house. I started to get out. The guy sitting on the porch yelled at me, stay in your car, stay in your car. I was like, okay, what's going on here? So it was a nice day. I had my windows down. He comes up to the edge of the car and he goes, what you want? I said, rent and a dime bag. I don't know, what you got in there? So he's like, oh, okay, hold on. He went in the house, and felt like an eternity, Pablo. I mean, it could have been 3 minutes, but it felt like 30 as I'm running through my mind. What's happening? Are they going to shoot me? Should I just leave? I don't know what's going on. And he comes back out, reaches in the window and goes, here you go. And handed me a wad, literally this thick. The biggest bill was a 5. And I was like, thanks. I didn't count it. I just drove away. And I remember getting on my cell phone right then, calling my buddy Steven's like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is ridiculous. I'm not driving around collecting rent. That's not what I signed up for. And of course, I worked through it. That was a heat of the moment thing. And I started out, I was a real estate appraiser then. Well, you know what happened in 2008 when the market crashed, and we went from doing 50 appraisals a week to a month. And I'm like, okay, now what am I going to do? So I got with another friend and we started buying houses. And, we could go to the sheriff's auction and buy, there were days on a Tuesday, we'd walk away with 6 homes. We would just buy as much as we can. And my theory at that point was, we're going to buy entry-level homes, we're going to fix them up, and we're going to sell them to first-time homeowners, because those are the guys who could still get credit because they hadn't jacked their credit up through this whole crash that was happening. And we were doing that pretty successfully. And then I got a call from an attorney in town, said, hey, I've got somebody with some real estate or some oil and gas interests they're selling, and they want a 1031 into some rental property. Can you help them? And I was like, man, I got 11 homes that I can sell them today that are. So I went and met with them, and they said, yeah, well, let's do this. you're going to manage them, right? And I was like, yeah, because I want this deal to get done. Heck yeah, I'm going to manage it. And I'm thinking, like, how hard can it be? I've got 11 or 12 and they've got 11 here. And that's really what kind of pushed me over the edge into seeing this as a property management as okay, this is a business and I've got to start figuring some of that out. And that's when, and I know this isn't about NARPM, but that's when I found NARPM, the National
Yeah.
Association of Residential Property Managers. If you're listening and don't know what that is, I basically got online and was like, I've got to get myself educated, and found NARPM. They had a conference in like 4 weeks, broker owner conference in Vegas. And I was like, I guess I'm going to Vegas. And that really is what got me off and running into the property management world. But coming into it as an investor, not just like helping investors, yes, but also having a small portfolio of my own at that point.
Super interesting. I don't hear of a lot of property managers that invest in real estate unless they walked in as an investor. Is that lack of sample size for me, or
No,
do you find that that to be true?
I think you're probably hitting on something. I would be interested maybe at one of our conferences just to do one of those little polls that it goes up on
Yeah.
the screen. It's like everybody just answer this right now and see how many property managers do have investment property, and kind of see, have you heard of the Iceberg report? You know what that is? It came out several years ago. It's like a 2016, 2017 report, and it kind of talked about the breakdown of, what percentage of these single family rental people have one property, and how many have
Yeah.
1 to 4, and how many have 4 to 10, and
Mm.
how many have over 25. And if you've got over 25, it's like 0.5%. Like if the vast majority
0.5% of people that own rental properties, not just 0.5% of the
no,
population.
0.5% of the people who own rental properties have more than 25. It's like 84% have one property, right? And
Mhm.
then you go 1 to 4, and that takes up another like 13%. So you've got this last 3% of people who even have more than like 10 properties. So I would like to see how many property managers say, yeah, I've got one. And then, okay, do you have more than one? How many of those hands come down? Like, did
Yeah.
they just accidentally get one along the way? Or are they really being purposeful and mindful about getting those properties?
Man, when I do these podcasts, I'm always thinking about our friend that's listening right now, and the idea of like showcasing value before talking about the how to, right? Is like I think it's real, right? Like
Yeah.
so so this is your story. If I'm listening to this, I'm like, well, that's great for Tracy. He got in, he already had 14. Like, why would I, like for me, it seems like scaling a mountain before, why would I get into this game, particularly right now? I would ask you just from, before I injected my own narrative into it, and I will
Mhm.
through asking questions, but like when you think about having a rental property portfolio and what you have as a property manager, where do you see the biggest benefit of like owning and operating a rental property management company?
Well, on our portfolio that we have now, which is now it's quite a few more than 14, it's just easy for, as a property manager, part of it is, okay, we've got an issue at a house. Can I make the decision on behalf of the owner? That's going to depend on your contract, right? What's your level of authority that they've given you? Okay, this is a little bit bigger than me making the decision. I've got to reach out to the owner. You call the owner. The owner says, "Oh, man, I wasn't planning on that. Let me think about that. Can you get me 2 bids?" Okay. Or, can you send me, we've had some crazy weather in Oklahoma, and we had an owner literally request pictures to show what really needed to be repaired on a 400, no, it was over 500 because it was over our limit. It was like $550 roof repair. And I'm like, dude, I mean, if we put a new roof on this house, it's $15,000. You really want us to send somebody out to take a picture to show you that the shingles have blown off? I mean, we got real stuff to do. We're not going to make stuff up. It's like I'm not sure like where that even came from, but it's really easy for me as an owner
Yeah.
and the property manager. Somebody walks across the room and says, "Hey Tracy, did you see that work order on your house? We got a bid. It's this. What do you want to do? Do it." I mean, it's like it's that fast. It takes a big burden off of our staff of the constant back and forth communication to get a lot of the work orders done. So we can move at a much faster pace on our portion of the portfolio.
Interesting. All right. So your answer was investor first. right? Because when you first started telling me the story, I don't know if you were going to be like, dude, I can just be like, hey, man, I own 40 of these things. Like, I wouldn't look at this, just make it happen. I know what happens on the other side. But where you went was you see a greater value in driving returns for yourself because you kind of like operate this thing and you obviously you get higher returns because
Mhm.
you're not paying a 10% management fee and like a placement fee and all these different things.
Well, not necessarily. We actually charge ourselves the same
Oh,
thing
interesting.
that we charge our clients. And for me, that's one of our two sell points, right? Like, hey, we've got the same bundle of resources to take care of my properties as to take care of Pablo's properties that he has with us. I don't want them to think there's any special favoritism. We charge, now we move quicker because the line of communication is direct. We
Hmm.
charge ourselves the same property management fee, the same tenant placement fee. Now they say, well, you're just charging yourself, and that's really washing the money through. You look at it however you want, but we are using the same resources that we use for our owner clients. Now, the good thing is, and I tell our owner clients this when we're talking to them, is the same guys that work on my rentals are
Yeah.
the same guys that work on your rentals. And at the same price. I don't get like the super secret discount. We mark yours up so everybody walks away happy. I mean, it's in my interest to find good, and I don't want to say cheap because I don't like that word, inexpensive or
Yeah.
at least moderate vendors to work on the house
Yeah.
that will do a quality job in a good amount of time that will keep our tenants happy, that's going to protect the investment. So we've got our interest, I would say, more aligned with our owner clients than maybe a property manager that just doesn't have any rentals and maybe doesn't have the understanding that we might have on what it means when I call them and say, hey, it's $1,800 to fix this. you know I get that call too, and I don't like it, but you got to do it. And it's just that empathy, I guess, of being able to understand and talk to our owner clients about that.
There's so much value in being your ideal client, right? Like
Yeah. Hmm.
whether you are building a business to satisfy your own need, right? Like I love like founder stories that built a business because they had a problem, right? Like that's what you did. But also just the kind of like knowledge DNA that goes down the business when you are your own client. You feel the same pains, you have the same experience, you get to do it. Like for me, I remember when I was building Be the Stage, I wanted to treat myself. I wanted to treat my podcast and my like community flywheel. I wanted to be treated as one of my clients. And because of that, I understood, oh, we're actually, when you produce a podcast and then you send somebody 20 clips of content, it's completely overwhelming. And that's why they're not posting it, right? Like I don't have time to
Hmm.
like look at this and post it myself or write a caption. So I had to build a business to like erase the pains and erase the friction of like what's holding people
Hmm.
back, right? So like that idea of being your own client for me has so much value. The same as like hiring people, my language is hiring your super consumers, right? Like hiring the folks that you would be serving so that they have this deep empathy to me makes so much sense in business as this like invisible force. How often are you in that conversation? How often are you telling your clients or how often is your team telling your clients that same exact story that you're telling me
I think all the time. I
all the
mean,
time?
yeah, I mean, we're having that conversation with them when they're signing up and when they're new. And then if we start to get pushback on like, hey, well, what about this one? It's like, listen, we don't get paid a lot, right? Now, I'm not saying I'm not making any money, but if property management is about, picking up the dimes and the nickels and the quarters to make a dollar versus, hey, there's $100 bills. I just get to pick them up and do whatever I want with them. Yet owners often think that, oh, well, I'm paying them $130 a month, let's say. They're my personal assistant. And I'm like, this is not how this works.
Yeah.
Right. So I can't, I mean, we have, again, our resources are divided amongst however many clients we have. I can't say, okay, Pablo, for you, I am going to get you 7 bids on this deal, right? It's like we can't do that. Like we've got a software that produces a bid, and then if it's over a certain amount, I'm going to send one of my vendors out to give another bid, and that's it. If you want more than that, you're welcome to spend your time, effort, and money to go do that. But I can't be having these vendors that I'm sending out giving bids and not giving work
Yeah.
because then they just leave.
Mm.
So, you know, for me, it's being able to go back and say, listen, I know this is the best price because this is who's working on my house too. Like, I'm not going to send these guys out that, have a fleet of 75 vans and charge you $350 just to show up the first time and then want to really, take you to the cleaners. I mean, those aren't our vendors. Now, that's who you're going to find when you're just pulling it up online and Googling best plumber in Tulsa. So we vet those vendors, we use those vendors, and I use them on my house where my house is where I have to make money too.
Yeah. And I want to get into how you would operationalize this, but
Hmm.
real quick, the other thing that I heard in your first story before, because I want to get into how you operationalize it, and then I want to just talk about other things of how this helps the business and then inject, like
Yeah.
and test and see if I'm right here. Right. But like the other thing I heard in your story is an unspoken level of stability for your labor force because you know that whether or not you're landing new clients or not, or whatever, you have a certain amount of work that's always going to go to
Hmm.
your people because you're never going to fire yourself. So there's
Right.
like this, like kind of like a high floor of peace of mind that, you have a certain like sky's not going to fall for me because I can make
Right.
these long-term decisions for like my key players. Is that kind of right?
For sure. Yeah, it definitely helps with that, especially when it comes to the larger projects like turnovers versus just a one-off maintenance thing. I think that just comes with property management. As you grow, the more you grow your company, the more you're going to be able to hold those vendors tightly because I mean, vendors are a huge commodity for us in this space, and you've got to protect them. And like I had a conversation this weekend with my son's wife, her dad. He said, "Hey, can you send me the number of somebody that he needed something done at his house?" I didn't send him the number. I knew I was going to see him later that day. He goes, "Hey, did you get my text?" I said, "I did get your text, but I'm going to tell you how this works. Because of who you are, I'm
Mhm.
going to give you this number if you look me in the eye and say, I'm never giving the number out. And when I'm done with this, I'll delete the number from my phone." He's like, "Seriously?" I was like, "Yeah, seriously. Like, this is because I've had it happen before where I
Yeah.
was much too liberal. Friends like, hey, do you got, yeah, man. Hey." Next thing you know, this guy's off working for half the town and he doesn't have time to call me back.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not doing that ever again. These are it's a proprietary relationship that I've developed with some of these vendors. Now, some of them, yeah, plumber's a plumber. It's not like you got every week you need plumbing stuff done at your house. So, I'm a little bit more liberal with some of the numbers than others, but he was like, okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, I don't give his
Yeah.
number out.
That's interesting. That's interesting. That reminds me of the guy that painted this room was the same way, right? It's like a buddy of mine that owns a commercial property management company. He's like, I'm gonna give you this painter's number. You're not giving it to anybody.
Right.
And then the guy that like did my counter in my kitchen and my like tiled my kitchen. I just went to like his kid's birthday party because I'm like, dude, I need to be friends with this guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a valuable relationship. All right,
Yeah.
so there's a level of stability involved. There's a level of like speed for you and your portfolio. There's a level of customer empathy. I want to hit on a couple of other things, but let's get into, we're already 10 minutes in. Somebody's listening. It's like, all right, man, cool. I get it. It's valuable. How would I do this? Right? Like what have you done in your operation to facilitate your ability to buy and hold rental properties and have that opportunity?
So first, you got to have a little money, right? Or a relationship. And I would say most property managers have a decent relationship with a bank somewhere because they're holding security deposits.
Hmm.
Now, obviously, I can't use those security deposits, but the bank loves holding those security deposits, right? They make money on their deposits. So I would say you start with that. And whoever that banking relationship is, you say, hey, I want to buy some property. What do I need to do? Don't make me go talk to the bank down the road because I can move my deposits, kind of thing. I mean, you play a little of that game with them, and get some funds set up so that you're ready to buy if you don't have cash. So that's number one. And then if you're the one answering the phone, great. Then this is what you need to do for yourself. If you've got other frontline staff answering the phone, this is what we tell them. Right? So I'm not the one answering the phone, so I've got that portion of my staff trained. Hey, if you hear from an owner and you are hearing some of the buzzwords from them, like you can tell they're frustrated, maybe I want to sell. They've got a huge repair and they don't have money to make the huge repair. Maybe they just get to the point where like you can hear it in their voice. They're unhappy about owning rentals. Hey, if you get any inkling of that, you send me an email and you come talk to me. I want to know who it is and I want to know what's going on. That's the first thing. You've got to be aware. So when it crosses your path, you're recognizing that it's crossing your path. And when you put those goggles on to say, I'm looking for this, all of a sudden it's like, it's happening way, way more than you think. And I mean, anybody can go on MLS and find a house, right? And we've got wholesalers in the area, and I'm on their emailing list. But guess what? Everybody's on their email list. I've got this original exclusive on my portfolio that I'm managing. So I want to look at it as they want to sell. I want to be the buyer. Does it work out every time? No, but I want the first right of refusal. Now, maybe I say, this one's not going to work for us. Let's refer them out and let's help them get their property sold. Maybe I'm not the buyer, but we want to be the easy button if we can. So that's step one.
It feels like in real estate, the golden goose is off-market deals.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely.
So you have a source of off-market deals if you just create the awareness and the process around, hey, I hear a little twinge in their voice, like, what, why don't you talk to my owner, Tracy, and maybe he can give you some better advice because he's also a rental property investor.
Yeah.
And right there, now you're like you're adding value of this, like, as a property management client, I would, if I'm feeling frustrated, I'd appreciate the escalation and go talk to the owner anyways.
Right.
And then if the owner is just like, oh, listen, man, we can mercy kill you right now. I'll just take this thing off your hands.
It gives them a lifeline. Like they're like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck here. And we're like, well, let me have Tracy give you a call and we can talk through some of the options. Yeah. They don't even, for the most part, my guess is they don't know what their options are. And then that's what I do. So then I reach out. I do a little research. What do they have? Let me do a little research so I don't just cold call them without knowing anything about their portfolio. And it may be that they have a couple of houses. It may be that they have one house. I want to know what I think that house is worth. I want to know what I think that house is worth to me. I want to know what it's rented for. I want to know did we place that tenant? Is it under rented because they gave it to us with a tenant in there that's been under rented, and their big deal is that I don't want to raise the rents too much because I don't want them to leave. Okay, so I'm looking at what it's rented for, what I think the market rents for, and then I call them. Then I call and say, Pablo, hey, Kim told me to give you a call. What's going on? I want to find out, get to the pain point. What is really, really happening? Like, why do they need to sell? And then I know. Then it goes on to the next step, but I want to know why. Is this oh, you need to sell and you need to sell now, or you kind of want to get out of it. You're not in a rush. Let's see what we can do. And then I start to take them through the whole process, right? Hey, here's your house. I know you've probably looked it up on Zillow because you've got a phone, and Zillow says that house is worth $165,000, right? But let's look at reality, right? You're telling me it needs a new air conditioner. You don't have money for a new air conditioner. I mean, so we're already talking, you don't have the $7,500 to replace this air conditioner. So we can sell it retail, $165,000, but this is what we have to do. When's your lease run out? Right? Your tenant's in there for 6 more months. So are you going to pay your tenant to leave? We're not selling it to Bob and Sally, that's your most likely retail buyer, not an investor, because an investor is not going to pay retail.
They're not going to pay
retail.
So
we got to get them out. Or maybe they're on month to month. Great. We move them out in 30 days. Now we have to get the house retail ready, right? So based on what I know, having been in your house, having looked at the pictures, that's going to cost X, right? I know you don't have $7,500, which we're going to have to fix the air conditioner, but now we're repainting, we're cleaning carpet, we're replacing carpet, we're doing all that stuff. This house is full retail. You're going to sell it to a first-time homeowner. What do I know about first-time homeowners right now, especially in today's? They're going to be doing an FHA loan. They're going to want you to pay closing costs. That's going to be another X%, right? Then you're going to pay real estate commissions. That's another X%. So we take that full retail and say, okay, full retail minus what we have to do to get it ready, minus those closing costs, minus those commissions, this is what your net price is. And that's going to take us, we're given notice, we list it, we close it. Maybe it happens in 45 days, maybe it happens in 120 days. That's kind of where we are on that.
That's pretty cool how Tracy has trained up his team to forward him calls for investor opportunities for him. But sometimes, training your team to do that might be harder than it seems. But here's the deal. Our receptionist, our AI voice agent that can serve as your front desk, can be trained to do that exactly. Not only can it, answer leasing questions and troubleshoot and triage maintenance requests all the way to taking it through to work order, but you can train it to do whatever you want as a phone tree decision-making system, right? Including the idea that if someone is calling saying that they're thinking about moving off of their property and they want to sell it, you can get it forwarded direct to you so that you can have that sales conversation about acquiring it, or maybe you just want to talk to them because you really just want to talk them off the ledge. You keep it managed in your portfolio. But the key is this. Our AI receptionist, what we call receptionist, and have lovingly called her Lisa for now, has gone absolutely viral in the world of property management because of her podcast appearance. But what people don't realize is that she can literally be trained to have any kind of conversation to suit your business and saving your team that time on the phone that is so draining. So if you have yet to test that, go to the episode and listen to me interview her, the interview with Lisa. That is maybe like 2 or 3 episodes right before this one. But more importantly, go to vendoroo.ai, book a demo, and let us show you how Lisa can actually take a call, troubleshoot, triage, and create a work order for you, or just kind of like forward things to the exact department that you need without your team wasting time. Go to vendoroo.ai.
Now, your other option is I can give you why right now. Mm-hmm. Do you owe any money on the house? You don't. Okay. Would you take a portion of that right now and you owner finance it for, say, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? Does that interest you at all? We can spread out your tax over a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Or I can give you a cash, let's close in 3 weeks. So I did that with a guy. I made a note on this so I wouldn't botch it up. So let me pull it up. He had 3 houses. I call him. He's got 3 houses. They're rented for about, I'm just going to call it $850 a piece on average. Mm-hmm. So he's bringing in about $2,200 a month. He's a stay-at-home dad. His wife's a doctor. She's, for some reason, I don't know how doctors get laid off. She's gotten laid off. No job. All the houses are paid for, 100%. So he's got a pool of money sitting here that he can't access, and $2,200 a month is doing nothing for him, right? So I walked through that whole process. They're all under lease all over the place, so he can't just throw them on the market. So we back into a price of about $83,000 a property, and I said, but if you'll owner carry that, right, for 12 months, I would be willing to give you, and I think what my price was at that time was like $95,000. So it's an extra $12,000. So it's like, I'll give you a pretty good chunk right now. I'll give you like $40,000 and you carry it. And he goes, okay, yeah, I think I understand this. Let me think about this. I'm talking to my wife. And I was 100% sure he was going to take the owner carry option. And he comes back as, no, if you give me $83,000 a door, I'll just buy them. It's like, great, let's do it. And whatever that is, so that's $250,000. So that's what it was. It was $250,000 right now, $275,000. That's what it was. It was $275,000 if you owner carry it. So I'm thinking $25,000. Why wouldn't you just carry it for a year? And it just makes it easy for me on financing, because then I'm refinancing a house versus purchasing the house with the bank. And he's like, no, let's just do it. So okay. So those were rented for about $2,200 a piece. I bought them, raised the rents. We even sold one of them. So I was looking at that. So that was about 3.5 years ago. The value on that now is, we sold one of them that we paid $83,000 for. We sold it for $165,000 about a year and a half later, right? So we generated
2 off with just that one.
Yeah. And use that cash, then we 1031'd it, bought some other property. Yeah. But on that remaining, I've got a value now of the remaining 2 houses that I paid $160 is worth about $342,000. So I've got $175,000 worth of equity sitting there.
Mm-hmm. And they're cash flowing every single month.
And we raised the rents to
Yeah.
$1,200 from $800.
Yeah.
So, and those were $800 tenants were those, that was an example of tenants they had placed. They turned them over to us. And, I feel like I really walked them through like, hey, we can do retail. This is what it looks like. I can give you X or I can give you X plus if you'll carry it. Or we can just throw them out there and say as is, who wants them? But he's like, yeah, let's do it. If you can close fast. And we did. We like, here we go. Here's cash sale. And I just turn around and refinance and pull my money back out from the bank. But then you're looking at it from my side. I mean, I've got like, I don't know, $25,000 of cash of my cash in those deals that are producing, $2,300 a month on $25,000 investment.
It's not bad
And
cash on cash.
I've got $175,000 equity. So that's what I'm like. People are like, well, I can't buy houses in my market for 83,000. The multiples are still the same, right? Say that house was 160,000 or 320,000. The differences are still the same and they're still there. And we've used that and we've bought from, I mean, that's not the only way I've bought properties, but I've been out, I hunt for those, and we've built that up to where we got a little over 70 properties.
Let's go.
And it's bringing in a ton of cash on not a lot of cash out of my pocket. Mm-hmm. And I believe in leverage. So we've got some leverage, but our leverage on those is less than 50%. And most of my rates, my highest rate is like 4.5%. So I can sit on that for a long time, knowing that is worth, if I had to sell both today, I'm making a lot more money on that than I'm making on selling my property management company.
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about leverage, right? Like I want to aim this conversation at somebody that, like, you just described a very sophisticated financial transaction, right? Mm-hmm. Like what you just did is essentially financial engineering. When we talk about leverage, we're talking about having debt, right? People are uncomfortable with the word debt. They're more comfortable with the word leverage if they don't understand that as debt, right? But what you have is smart debt and dumb debt, right? Like, exactly. Smart debt is debt that pays for itself, that cash flows, that also appreciates on the asset. And like when we're talking about leverage, like if Oklahoma City and that area is, you're in Tulsa or you're in Oklahoma City?
Both, from both.
Okay, cool. So whatever. So if your market is appreciating at, like, call it 3.5% per year, in a property that you have 50% debt on, you're essentially making 7% a year on that, because the money that you put in, you're appreciating on the whole asset class, right? If it's like 50 grand and it's $100,000 and you appreciate 3.5%, you have an extra $3,500 at the end of the year, but you only put in 50 grand. I'm just trying to like explain the magic of leverage to our friend that's listening right now. So when you think of the entire transaction and you're talking about like the net value of net worth that you gain from scooping up these properties, the idea that you're using other people's money to gain cash flow from it and building your net worth while also employing your people with it, right? Like it creates the cash flow that pays the bills in your business that is also building your net worth. It also creates the amount of work that increases how much you can give to your favorite contractors so that they don't have to be looking for work. It's this beautiful flywheel machine that adds to the business, and like you said, is worth more than if you were to go sell the business, and way easier to sell, by the way, way more buyers.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, I think property managers are always looking for, what's that ancillary income that I can make off of my portfolio? Maybe I can make some ancillary income on a benefit package or a pet fee or something like that. And then some people then take that to the next level and say, well, what if I started a renovation company? Or probably 10 years ago when carpet was a bigger deal, I was like, should I just buy a carpet cleaning van and pay somebody to run the van? And then whenever we have carpet cleaning, we're essentially paying ourselves to clean the carpet, right? So we're constantly, as property managers, looking for that ancillary income. And I'm like, this is the biggest source of ancillary income that you can find that property managers are just not even touching. Because you would say, okay, well, if I told you it was $130,000 to go buy that carpet cleaning van and get it set up and all the equipment and the vacuums and paying somebody a year salary for a year is going to cost you $130,000, but you were going to make a couple $1,000s a month on that, you'd be like, okay, well, maybe that works, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I had another house from a guy who had multiple, and he sent me a list. Said, "Hey, I want to sell a couple." I was like, I like this one here. So what's the best price you could do on it? And I'll just buy it from you. He told me $132,000. And I was like, done, right? Like I was like gonna say, if anything, if he said anything under 150, and this is a seasoned guy, right? Like I'm not like cheating him. I mean, he's just like, I need to sell something. I want to generate some cash. Here's
Yeah.
my list. What looks good? And he said 132,000. Like, great. I sat on that house for 2 years, did zero work. Tenant paid me $1,500 a month, and I resold that house after 2 years for $205,000. That's like a mini business right
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
Like, forget carpet cleaning and worrying about my machine breaking down,
Yeah.
or if I'm doing the right markup on should I start a maintenance company and have 5 vans and do all this stuff. Like, this is low hanging fruit for property managers if they'll open their eyes to it.
It's low hanging fruit. It's more cash flow, you know, like it's more revenue. It builds your net worth and it aligns you with your customer, right? Like
Right.
building the carpet cleaning business, you know, you're still, yes, you are generating more cash flow. Like adding more fees to something, you know, that's kind of like, you know, just getting more money out of your client. Carpet cleaning fee is different, right?
Mhm.
Like you're kind of like putting more money in your pocket, but at the end of the day, it's still, it might add more value to the client. But like aligning with your client to me is such a valuable piece of this because it has all these other things that you talked about. Like you talk all the time with new prospects,
Right.
with the people that you're trying to convince, just take this maintenance fee, bro. You know, because I would do it, right? Like it is the ultimate leverage.
So I would say, Pablo, there's two ways. Like I do this more like a chess game, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm looking at that house that I just told you. I'm like, okay, I could sell that. I can 1031 that money. I'm not going to pay any taxes now. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to buy with that $73,000. I can parlay that into buying a down payment of $25,000 on 3 more homes, right? So I'm constantly looking at those different layers there.
Yeah.
You can play
Yeah.
this like checkers, right? All you have to do, because I've got some of those homes too, that
Mhm.
I bought in 1999, 2001, 2002, that I paid $50,000 for back then, which sounds stupid now, but it's, again, if you paid $250,000 for that house today, $350,000, and you sit on it for 25 years,
Yeah.
it just pays for itself. You don't have to do anything if you
Yeah.
play in the you can play the long game on it and just I don't look at this of like, man, I've got two businesses I have to work. I have to work my property management and I have to work my business that owns property and I've got to constantly juggle it around and do this stuff. We don't take any money out of that business. Zero. We just leave it in there,
Yeah.
pay down debt, keep a big nest egg in there for repairs. So when somebody does say, "Hey, big windstorm went through," I don't like to make insurance claims. We carry pretty high deductibles on our stuff because of that. And you need a $10,000 new roof. Great, put the roof on. That's it. That's the decision. I need a
Mhm.
roof. Put the roof on. The money's already there.
Yeah.
So one day. This is my one day money. This is retirement money.
Yeah.
So when I'm done with property management, suddenly I have income producing property that is paid for, that is in good shape because we're taking care of it. We are replacing the roof when it needs it. We're replacing the hot water tank. Or at that point, I can say, you know what? Maybe I should just sell all this and then just put the money in, something that makes me
Yeah.
a steady 5.5% because that's all I need.
Yeah.
I mean, there's several ways to skin it, but you don't have to be like uber aggressive. I feel like I'm pretty uber aggressive with ours, but you don't have to do that. I mean, you start with the first one. That's it.
Yeah.
Let me buy one. Then what do I need to do to get two? Then what do I need to get three?
Yeah.
And I think if you've got a portfolio of a couple hundred homes that you're managing, you could expect 1 to 2 of these a year to fall in your lap if you try.
Yeah, yeah, and I want to talk about kind of like that exit because what I have learned in rental property investing is the longer that you're in it and the more that you buy and the more that whatever your options get super super attractive and that's when you start to play
Yeah.
chess. But I do want to talk to the person that's just trying to get one right now, right? Like in the story that you told me, you said a very key thing: have a great relationship with your banker,
Hmm.
hold the deposits as like a I can take my deposits elsewhere if you don't
Hmm.
finance me. But in the story that you told, you kind of referenced the idea of like having access to $250,000. Can you talk about somebody that doesn't already have either the cash laid aside, all they have is the relationship, right? Like,
Yep.
let's say I have 150 doors. All I have is the relationship with the banker. I don't necessarily have a lot of like liquid cash just sitting around or a home equity line of credit that I can tap into. What are the levers that you're pulling to pick up that first property? Because as we know, once you get one property, you're going to get more once you figure this piece out.
You do need to have some, the days of, and when I got in it back in the day, that was, I don't want to say we were part of the problem because I never ever defaulted on a loan.
Yeah.
But that was back in the days where you could just say, well, I make this much money. And they go, great. How about we give you 110% of whatever the purchase
I
price is,
remember those
and
days.
you can walk away with money. And we're like,
Yeah.
okay, this sounds good. Right. So we're buying these back in the day, $65,000 houses and walking away with $15,000 in our pocket. So those days are gone unless you can find somebody. That's why I always ask, are you willing to own or finance, own or carry, however you want to say it? You can usually get away with less money down then. I tell people you need 25 to 30% down. So whatever that is in your market,
Yeah.
look at that, start stashing that away. Beg, borrow, and steal to get that, and then you leverage the rest with the bank. Well, Tracy, rates are so high right now. My very first rent house, my rate was 8%. Somehow made that work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can make things work if you, especially on the inside, you're on the inside, you know what that house is going to rent for. You know what you need to do to improve it to get more rent. So, things can work even at the higher rates, especially, I mean, don't feel like you got to find the one guy that's got 12 homes that he wants to sell.
Yep.
I mean, like you said, get one and build it from there and just slow and steady.
So save a couple bucks, right? Like 25%. You mentioned owner financing. Is there a way to pick up a property based on owner financing without putting any money down, or you still would have to like do some kind of a bank
Oh, for
transaction?
sure. For sure. I mean, I think that's getting to the pain point with these owners of asking, what is it? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you need? A lot of them, especially with your older clients, they don't need money right now. They're actually fine with, if you can maintain what I was making off the rental houses and I don't have to do anything, that's really what they're looking for, right? You got an older client, they're like, yeah, what I don't want is to sell these to you and lose half of it on taxes. Okay. What if I kept paying you what you're making right now on your rents as the payment, and we do that over 3 years to divide that up, and then I can make a balloon payment at the end. And at that point, you just refinance that at the bank. You refinance that at the bank at any point you want.
Yeah.
You just keep paying them what they needed for 3 years, make your balloon payment, and they may not be looking for, I need a lump sum right now. They just don't want to worry about this stupid 3 houses that you keep calling them about all the time.
Yeah. If I'm listening to this, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm into this owner financing thing, but I don't even know where to start. Is where you start that conversation with your banker of like, hey, how would you help me structure this thing in an owner financing deal? It's like, is that the person that you go to?
No, I just talk directly to the person. If it's your house, Pablo, and you call me and say, I want to sell it, what are we trying to accomplish? And I'm asking you, Pablo, is there any option? Like, how much do you owe on this house? And you say, well, I don't owe any money on it. Great. That gives us more options. Would you be willing to owner finance this to me, not a random person, to me, because we've already built trust for a certain period of time. And we will back that up with all kinds of documentation, deeds that get filed, promissory notes, everything, a mortgage, and we can do all that to make sure you are safe and protected. How would you feel about that? Well, I might be able to do that. What would that look like, Tracy? And then we walk through it.
Yeah.
Do
Tracy,
you need
the value prop to them at that point is just like, you're never going to get a maintenance call again.
Exactly.
I mean, you're never like, when this person leaves, I'm not going to bother you. I'm essentially just guaranteeing you this cash flow plus peace of mind, and I'll handle everything from here on out. That's going to be worth, me basically paying for
So
this. I make
just
the
going to
cash flow on the back
arbitrarily
end.
put a number on here. You're 75 years old.
Yeah.
And what's more important to you, to that 75-year-old? Is it, I need $300,000, or it's, you know what? I'd love it if I knew I was still just getting this $2,500 a month and I didn't even have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Great. Well, why don't I give you $10,000 up front and $2,500 a month for the next 3 years, or I make a balloon payment every year on that. So maybe I give you an extra $10,000 on top of that every year. So we're stretching out your tax burden. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that that make it make sense for that person. You just have to talk them through it.
Yeah. So
And
you
then you
talk
say,
that.
hey, if you don't believe me, talk to your CPA, and he'll go, yeah,
Yeah.
oops,
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna
Yeah.
lose
Yeah.
half that right now. So
Yeah. So you talk them through it, and then once you get that in place, you go back to your banker and be like, "Yo, how can I refinance this as quickly as possible to get my cash out once this goes through?"
yeah, you could do it as quickly as possible, or if you've got a good rate with that owner on the owner carry. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got one that we've been owner carrying for 5 years at 5%. I'm like, she's happy as a clam.
Sweet.
I'm just gonna leave it.
Yeah.
So the thing will be paid off but way faster doing that than it is going to the bank. Now, if there's a difference on the rate, if they're like, yeah, I'll do it, but you got to pay me 15%, I would still say yes. I'll pay you 15% because it's less money out of my pocket. And then,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm looking to refinance that as soon as I can.
Where did you get educated on all this stuff, Tracy? Because like to me, the thing that's like overwhelming is you hear all this stuff. Like if I'm like listening to this, I'm like, man, Tracy's got so many tricks up his sleeve. Like I'm just trying to get one here. What I've learned is that like once you, like I said, once you get one, you start learning about everything else. But
Yeah,
like baseline level education on this type of stuff, like where are your places to go? Do you have any?
man, there's so many options out there right now with the like what we're doing. The world of podcasts has
Yeah.
really opened that up to,
Yeah.
back in the day, if you wanted to learn about this, you had to stay up till like midnight, and you got the Carlton Sheets
That's right.
1 hour infomercial where you could buy his program, and
Yeah.
he would send you this binder, this 3-ring binder, and cassettes and stuff like that. I mean, it's just we're light years ahead of where we were back then. So I just think there's so many options of people to listen to on podcasts right now that I mean, I'm going to pull up my podcasts right now and tell you who Jay Parsons has got one called The Rent Roll. I like hearing his. He's multifamily stuff more than single family, but I
Okay.
like hearing. I think multifamily and single family have some synergies. They drive. David Green, I like listening to his. Let's see. You've
Bigger
got
pockets
one.
messaging board, right? Like,
Yeah, you've got one. Real estate guys. I mean, that guy spoke at the last NARPM conference. Ken McElroy. There's just so many of them out there now that you can listen to and just get great education on. This is what's happening in the market. These are what some of the bigger players are doing, and Bigger Pockets has been a great resource in the past. I don't love some of their stuff now, but if you're newer and just getting into it,
yeah.
just listen and absorb, and then you got to be on the lookout. I think a lot of property managers are a little bit more educated because they're in the business than like if
Correct.
I'm talking to my sons who want to get into, Dad, what do I need to do to flip a house? I'm like, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. Just educate yourself.
I think that's the beauty. That's the unfair advantage that the property manager has is that you already have the network to go to within your network. I'm sure you have
Mhm.
a client or two who has done this stuff, right? And
Right.
like maybe can partner on a deal. Like when we're talking about sources of capital, the idea of like emailing your investor clients and be like, hey, I have an opportunity to pick up another one within the portfolio. I need some private money. Like
Hmm.
the ability to pull
We've
that is very, very real, as opposed to the other side of the equation are the people that have no exposure to this, that are paying a $25,000 like 3-day boot camp thing to then
hmm
get referred to people that you already have in your
right.
network, right? Like that's the
Or
advantage.
or you can partner with, I mean, you have somebody that's like, man, my house is in such a state of disrepair. This
Yeah.
tenant moves out and it's a mess, right? They've spent no money on deferred maintenance for the past 12 or 15 years, and it needs everything. And they're like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't have the money to do this. Okay, how about this? You've already got the house, it's paid for. We don't have to take out a loan. How about we partner on this? Let's paper it all up again so everybody's covered. You
Yeah.
got the house. Let me run the rehab. I'll fund the rehab. I'll fund the rehab and do the rehab. And then we agree that the house is worth, you know, not much at this point, right? So let's just say it's worth $50,000,
Mhm.
$75,000, $100,000. Your house is worth $100,000 in this state of repair. I'm going to front $75,000 to renovate it. So now this thing is really kicking. Somebody's going to walk in it. We're looking to a first time home buyer. This is who we're selling this to, not an investor. We're going to trick this thing out. But I know it's going to sell for 275 if we do that. You
Yeah.
can't get there on your own. I can't get there because you have the house. So now we got 175 in it. Let's sell it for 275 and split the profits 50-50.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an easy way. Then I've just generated $50,000 that I
Yeah.
can use to go buy a house from somebody else. So, I mean, look at different ways to partner with your owners.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to end on two things. One
Okay.
is I'm just going to list them out and then we'll get to them. One is I want to finish on this idea of like this is your retirement plan. But first I want to say why would I want to do this as opposed to just like being a realtor and selling the house for them and making my realtor commissioner fee.
I mean, it's like a one and done, right? It's like that's the one night stand of real estate. I'm going to tell you whatever I need to tell you to sell your house or to get you to buy a house so I can make my 3% commission. We get that all the time. We get a house. Hey, I just bought this house. My agent told me that it was going to rent for $1,800 a month. I'm like, your agent obviously must have had their medical marijuana card because they were high as a kite. Yeah, it's not rent for $1,800, right? They told you what they wanted to tell you to get you to buy the house.
Yeah.
Now here comes me, Mr. Long-term relationship, because that's what property management is. It's going to rent for $1,495. Sorry. If we can make the one-off money, we'll make it, right? Somebody wants, no, I just want to sell it. Can you list it? Let's list it, sell it. We'll take our 3% and move on. But I would rather see what we can do to maintain that long-term relationship and continue to make money over and over and over and over again, even though it's much smaller. Let's just continue to make money in little bits every month.
That to me is where this conversation fits in, right? Like, dude, I'd love to sell it for you, but let's talk some other options. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of you making 20 grand today because you just brokered this thing, you're able to create this long-term value as we've described. A, for you, it becomes an asset that appreciates. B, it continues to make your business more aligned with your clients because you're now an investor too. You can have that
Mm-hmm.
conversation. You can market yourself that way. C, it keeps your people busy and it like insulates that. It allows you to grow your business with like a certain level of stability and like less
Right.
risk because you own part of your portfolio. And D, increases your purchasing power of your contractor base. Like
Mm-hmm.
JWB spends $7 million a month in maintenance because they have
Right.
6,000 properties, 400 are theirs. You bet your ass they get preferential rates and preferential treatments. Like when a
Yeah.
hurricane's coming to town, you know that their houses are getting taken care of when everybody
Right.
else is scrambling for like a tie
Right.
down something. So major advantage. I would love to talk about the advantage of retirement, man. Like I feel like as entrepreneurs, it's so hard to save for retirement. You have this idea of like, oh, maybe somebody buys my business, but maybe I can put some shekels away in my 401k. I think it's flawed. I think the idea these days of the old ING commercial where like, oh, I'm going to just save to this number. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I'm old, I'm just going to live off that number. You know, we're living longer. Inflation's going through the roof. Taxes are going crazy. You don't know what your tax situation is going to be there. I find the idea of retiring with like 40 to 50 to like you, whatever number you're going to get to. I'm hoping to get to like somewhere around 25 myself of rental properties being just a way better exit plan than anything else possible because you now have this like consistent monthly cash flow. You have the ability to pull out cash from refinancing 25 years later
Mm-hmm.
without paying tax on it if you need cash and you still keep the asset. Or, like you said, you can cash out and put it in Vanguard and just live off of that 7%, right? Like,
Right.
um, tell our friend that's listening kind of like the benefit of having these things in your portfolio as your retirement plan, the way you see it.
Well, it boils down to the same thing you hear from your guy at Fidelity is going to tell you got to diversify, right? Well,
Yeah.
this is, for me, this is part of that diversification. Yes, I do have money in the market,
Yeah.
right? But I've got a lot of money in this because I'm in this and I'm in it every day and I can touch it and I can feel it and I can buy it today's dollar. And no matter what inflation is, I've locked it in right then. If I buy this house for $250,000 today's dollar, as inflation goes up, my hard asset is going to go up in value as well. And somebody else is paying it off with their inflation dollars that they're paying down on my debt. So, you know, that's what I like about real estate. Um, I've got, it's not liquid. I can't just say I need $100,000 tomorrow. So that's the disadvantage. But I can also sell it to Pablo the investor. I can sell it to Pablo the homeowner. I can package it together. I can give a discount. I mean, if I need to sell it, I can give a discount and make some money
Yeah.
fast. There's lots of different ways to exit it. And it just, for me, it shelters my money. So instead of feeling like, oh, well, I've got to pull money out of my business to put into retirement, I'm using that same money in my business to grow my current business, and it's going towards my retirement. I know I've got X million dollars worth of property sitting there, and I know how much that's bringing in right now. So what's that going to be bringing in 10 years? Look, well, what about inflation? Well, yeah, inflation is going to increase the rents. So it's going to keep up with inflation. Whereas if I buy a CD at 4.5%, which is 4.5% is pretty good, that's not keeping up with inflation, right? Not right now, it's not.
Not right now.
And it
Not for a
hasn't.
while.
I feel like it really beats inflation and stays up with inflation, because there has never been a 10-year history of real estate where real estate's gone down ever. Now, you said, we'll never say never. Okay, I got to look at trends, right? Trends, that's all I can look at. This is what has happened. This is probably what's going to happen again. There's going to be a little bit of this along the way, up and down, but the trend is it's going to go up in value.
I love the concept of inflation hedging. The idea of, man, this burger used to cost a nickel, right? Imagine buying a 30-year supply of burgers at the nickel price, you know,
Yeah,
and now you're sitting here 30 years later and you're selling each of those burgers for $5.
it's a great return.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's it, right? And that's how it keeps up. Whereas, like, I don't know, man, maybe the price of gold keeps up with it. Maybe Bitcoin, who knows what Bitcoin does in 30 years,
right.
right? Like, it's probably going to go up. Who knows if it keeps up with inflation, right? Like, who knows if Coca-Cola stock keeps up with inflation? I essentially see my rental property portfolio as that. They talk about like the 60-40 portfolio where you want to like hold like 60 in equities because it
Hmm.
has upside and then 40 in like
Hmm.
the cash flow thing that you're hedging. I see my rental property portfolio as that like 40%, except it has just as much upside as the stock market historically. Like it
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, a leveraged portfolio like that, like, if you're gonna go put your money in Vanguard, you're gonna expect like 7 and 9% over your life. I can put this stuff in rental properties, expect like 10 to 12% over lifetime. Plus, it comes with all these other benefits, and it's just like I
Hmm.
I have a really outside of diversification and wanting exposure to the market and all these other things, I have a really hard time looking for anything that I don't like inside the owning single family homes in America where people like for starter homes, like workforce
Right.
housing, starter homes, man. I just think it's like the perfect
And then
asset.
for property managers, it goes back to what you said earlier.
Yeah.
You've got access to off-market deals.
Yeah.
Off-market deals typically have a built-in equity from the get-go.
Yeah.
So if I've got $100,000 and I can buy something that's worth $100,000 for $80,000, why wouldn't I do it?
Yes. You have the thing that everybody wants in this game.
Mhm. Right.
I'm glad we had this conversation, man. I've been wanting to
Yeah,
nerd
that's
out about
good.
this with you. Yeah, this
That's
is
been
cool.
good. I
Anything
appreciate
else,
it.
man? Is there anything else that I haven't asked you about that you think is relevant to this or anything that you wanted to talk about?
I really wanted to break down tariffs. No, I'm just kidding. We're not even, I'm just checking with you. We're not doing any of that. No, not really. I mean, that's kind of it. Just because, I mean, set up a system, stick with it, ask
Yeah.
the questions, and all of a sudden the scales will fall off, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's right here. It's right here for me to do as a property manager.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty easy fruit to pick for them, if you just decide you're going to do it.
Agreed, man. Tracy, I like to end all these I end these podcasts with a compliment generally, so I'm just preparing you for that. But like,
Okay.
first of all, I've been wanting to just have like a conversation about this with you for a while,
Mhm.
ever since we were first talking before NARPM Broker Owner 2024. And I was like, well, you want to pick up some properties for JWB because you like the show so much? You're like, no, 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 I'm good there. So I've been wanting to have this conversation with you because I'm also super interested in the Oklahoma market. Like I feel like Oklahoma City is kind of like all the dynamics that I like in Jacksonville
Mhm.
are happening in Oklahoma City. But more than anything, man, and you know this, you having picked up that call, like sent me that email looking for a speaker for an RPM 2024 broker owner, has been an absolute like black swan moment in my career. And I'm gonna continue to thank you for it until, in some way, like I said, man, you are a guy that I hope to provide 10 times the value that you've given me. And so far, it's really just like changed my trajectory forever, man. And like the fact that you chose me to do it means the world to me, man. And you've been nothing but like a great friend and a great source of introductions. And you're like this like super connector guy that's like loves to network. So I very much like I find that very attractive, man. So I'm just appreciative of our friendship and I appreciate you doing
Well, I
it.
appreciate that. Those are kind words, and I appreciate it.
All right, buddy.